In the first part of Lesson 5, we learned how to join dependent clauses with independent clauses to create complex sentences. Now, with all these tools at our disposal to combine dependent clauses and independent clauses in all sorts of ways, in the second part of the lesson, we'll learn how to diversify our sentences even more by combining clauses into yet another type of sentence pattern, compound complex. Once again, let's review. We've now talked about three types of sentences: simple sentences with one independent clause, compound sentences with multiple independent clauses, and complex sentences with one independent and one dependent clause. But there's one more type of sentence we can create combining independent and dependent clauses, a compound complex sentence. These are made up of at least one dependent clause and multiple independent clauses. In this case, just like in a complex sentence, we can play with the order of clauses: independent, independent, dependent, independent, dependent, independent, or dependent, independent, independent. Because there is no set order of clauses in a compound complex sentence, we can combine the clauses strategically. We should place main ideas, whatever we want to emphasize the most, in the independent clause. We should place subordinate or less important ideas in the dependent clauses. We should choose connectors like semicolons, coordinating and subordinating conjunctions, and relative pronouns that best suit the relationship of the ideas and position subordinate ideas strategically. Let's look at an example of a compound complex sentence, one that begins with two independent clauses. Speculators overwhelmed the housing market and the Fed raised the interest rate are connected with a comma and a coordinating conjunction and concluded with a dependent clause, which caused 5 years of hardship and economic depression, signaled by the relative pronoun which. Notice that the two independent clauses carry equal emphasis, so our readers understand that the ideas contained within them, speculators overwhelming the housing market and the Fed raising the interest rate, are both equal factors in relation to the idea contained in the dependent clause, 5 years of hardship and economic depression. Furthermore, the which indicates the type of relationship the independent clauses have with the dependent clause, cause and effect. In the second example, we've used the same clauses but changed their order. Here we begin with an independent clause, speculators overwhelmed the housing market, followed by a dependent clause signaled with a relative pronoun, which caused 5 years of hardship and economic depression, and concluded with another independent clause, the Fed raised the interest rate, connected with a comma and a coordinating conjunction. In other words, we've sandwiched the dependent clause in between the independent clauses. Because of this, the whole meaning of the sentence changes. Instead of two equal factors causing 5 years of hardship, now one main factor, speculators, caused 5 years of hardship, and in response, the other main factor, the Fed, reacted, raised the interest rate. In the second half of Lesson 5, we learned how to join dependent clauses with independent clauses to create compound complex sentences. We brought together all of the concepts we've discussed so far, such as choosing the best subordinating and coordinating conjunctions and sequencing information intentionally to show how different clause combinations create different effects. Now is your chance to practice what we learned. Please return to the Canvas module, open the Activity 4 document, and follow the instructions to practice correctly and rhetorically creating compound complex sentences. Remember to save your work as we will build on this activity in following lessons. Then, move on to the next page of the module for Lesson 6 of the workshop, where we will discuss how to avoid common errors.